Hey guys, hope you had a chance to get out and scout out some observing locations. That's what we talked about last time. This time we're going to talk about some of the things you might want to bring. And we've telescopes, a couple different kinds. We're going to talk about those tomorrow and show you how to set them up and stuff. So if you have one in the attic, go up and get it, dust it off, dig it out of the closet, whatever. We'll be talking about those tomorrow. But there's a lot of stuff we can do observing with just our eyes, or with sometimes this is a rifle scope. Sometimes that works pretty well. It's got a little bit of weird eye relief, but generally they have pretty good optics, and they're handy. I don't recommend walking around town in the dark with a rifle with a scope. That tends to draw unwanted attention. So don't do that. But if you had one that was loose, sometimes they're even broken and they still work for what we need. Or binoculars. Binoculars work great for some of the stuff we're going to be doing. The best binoculars have big objective lenses, where this end is bigger. This pair works, but it's not a great pair for that. This is more for birding, and that's the same with this telescope. That's more. It's called a spotting scope. It's more for bird watching or for shooting targets and stuff. This is an astronomical telescope, but you use what you have. So dig it out, dust it off, and we'll talk about those tomorrow. Today I want to talk about more kind of the accessories. So one accessory that you'll need is a flashlight. Now you don't want to use a flashlight very often, because every time you turn it on, it messes up your night adaptation, the dark adaptation of your eyes. Your pupils will shut right down if you turn a regular flashlight on. But a weird thing, if you put a red filter over it, a red lens, then when you turn it on, it doesn't mess up your eyes. So you can use it to read, and still it doesn't mess up your eyes. So there's some that you can buy, like this one has a flashing red that I have used in some cases. I can never find my red flashlights, so I ended up just making them. I could use a piece of grocery bag. I've done that before with a rubber band. This is a piece of tissue paper, and it works good enough. Another thing you'll need before you go out is, I always like to look and see what's out there, what I might see, kind of get a lay of the land before I go outside. So back in the day, we used to use books for that, and make copies and all of that. Now we just use your phone. I have an app on here that when I look at a part of the sky, it tells me what stars. Right now I could tell you what stars I would see if we could see stars, or planets or satellites or whatever. So if you have a phone that's capable of that, there's some of them that are free, some of them are the ones that are more powerful, of course, cost money, but there's some free ones that are good enough to get you started. So we got our flashlights, we know what we're looking at, we've got our dark sky locations, so we're all set. Tomorrow we'll talk about telescopes and how to get the most out of them. That's all I got today, except for your next observing challenge. And that is our next door neighbor in the sky, the moon. The moon it orbits the Earth, of course, once a month, and that's the basis for a month. Today it just so happens that it's right about here, so we see almost the whole lit up side. In fact, it's right over there around the corner, and I'll show you that right now. We're approaching a full moon. A full moon is 2 days away when it would be lined up perfectly like this in a straight line. It's not lined up in a line. If that was the case, we'd have a lunar eclipse. But the orbit of the moon is kind of tilted compared to the orbit of the Earth around the sun, so we don't always have eclipses. Because it's a full moon, you might notice that, man, there just aren't a lot of stars out. The moon, when it's full, is so bright that it drowns out the stars. In fact, the moon, when you look at it through a telescope, it's bright enough that it kind of hurts your eyes. So you might have to have a filter over your lens to dim it down a little bit. The moon is actually better viewed with binoculars or a small telescope, not a big one. It gathers too much light and makes the moon too bright. And the full moon is kind of neat to see because you can see the whole thing, but you don't see a lot of shadows when the sun is coming straight on it. You don't see the shadows, you don't see the depth. So from a viewing standpoint, it's not that cool. But from your standpoint, I hope you find it cool, because I want you, over the next couple of days, to go out and draw the moon. So I would just start off with a circle. I'd probably even draw this before I went outside, so I'd have a basis for it. And just look up at the moon and draw in as much detail as you can the face of the moon. And we're going to compare that to what Galileo saw 400 years ago when he first put together his telescope and looked up at the moon. And we'll see how you do with that. Also, while you're out tonight, you'll probably notice there won't be too many stars because the moon is going to be so bright. But one thing that's really bright and looks like a star is the planet Venus. And we'll be talking more about planets down the road, but you'll notice that it doesn't twinkle. And if you take your little telescope or your binoculars and look at it, you'll see that it's not just a point of light. You can see that it actually has a size, it has a dimension. And that's because it's so much closer than the stars that you can actually see it has a size. You might also see that it has a phase too, like the moon has phases, because Venus is between us and the sun. It goes Mercury, Venus. And so Venus is always off towards the sun. Tonight you'll see it for a couple hours just after the sun goes down. Actually, it might be out right now if I can see it. I don't see it, but pretty quickly it'll get dark enough to see it, because it's really bright. You can't miss it. You know, starlight, star bright, first star I see tonight, that's going to be Venus. So don't wish on it. Your wish won't come true because it's not a star, it's a planet. So anyway, sketch your drawing of the moon, and then take a picture of it and post it in the discussion, and we'll see what people do. Have fun.